Left Behind, the tragic tale of Max and Lucy. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled among rolling hills and winding roads, there lived two dogs, Max and Lucy. Max was a golden retriever, with a fluffy coat of fur that shone like gold in the sunlight. Lucy was a beagle, with floppy ears that always seemed to be in the way of her nose. Max and Lucy lived with a loving family in a cozy home. Their owners were kind and attentive, always making sure that they had plenty of food and water, and taking them for long walks in the park. Max and Lucy were the happiest dogs in the world. They loved their family with all their hearts, and they knew that they were loved in return. Whenever their owners came home, they would wag their tails so hard that their whole bodies shook with joy. But one day, something changed. Max and Lucy noticed that their family was acting strange. They were packing up boxes and moving furniture around, and there seemed to be a sense of urgency in everything they did. Max and Lucy watched as their family loaded everything they owned into a truck and drove away, leaving the dogs behind. Max and Lucy didn't understand what was happening. They waited patiently for their family to return, but as the hours turned into days, and the days turned into weeks, they began to realize that something was wrong. Max and Lucy were confused and scared. They didn't know what had happened to their family, and they didn't know how to take care of themselves. They roamed the streets, looking for food and shelter, but they didn't know how to survive in the wild. As the weeks turned into months, Max and Lucy's health began to deteriorate. They were constantly hungry and thirsty, and they were exposed to the harsh elements of the world. They slept under trees and in abandoned buildings, but they were always cold and damp. Lucy's once cheerful bark became a weak whimper, and Max's energetic tail wagging turned into a slow, sad sway. They were both so weak that they could barely stand, and they knew that they didn't have much time left. One cold winter's night, Max and Lucy curled up together under a tree. They were both so weak that they could barely move, and they knew that they were close to death. But even in their final moments, Max and Lucy stayed together, never letting go of the bond they shared in life. They knew that they were loved even if their family had abandoned them, and they took comfort in each other's company. As they closed their eyes for the last time, Max and Lucy knew that they were going to a better place, where they would be loved and cared for forever. They had been abandoned by the ones who were supposed to love them the most, but they had each other, and that was all that mattered. The next morning, a group of volunteers found Max and Lucy lying under the tree. They were cold and still, and it was clear that they had passed away during the night. The volunteers were saddened by the sight of the two dogs, and they knew that they had to do something to honor their memory. They arranged a funeral for Max and Lucy, and they invited the entire community to attend. People from all over the town came to pay their respects to Max and Lucy. They brought flowers and toys and treats, and they laid them at the foot of the tree, where the two dogs had spent their final hours. The volunteers gave a eulogy for Max and Lucy, and they spoke about the importance of loving and caring for animals. They reminded everyone that dogs are not just pets, but members of our families, and that we have a responsibility to take care of them. As the sun began to set, the volunteers lit candles and placed them around the tree. The candles flickered in the darkness, casting a warm glow on Max and Lucy's final resting place. The volunteers sang a hymn, and tears streamed down their faces, as they mourned the loss of two innocent creatures. The funeral ended, but Max and Lucy's memory lived on. The volunteers raised funds to build a shelter for homeless dogs in the town, so that no other animal would have to suffer the same fate as Max and Lucy. The shelter was built in Max and Lucy's honor, and it became a safe haven for dogs in need. The volunteers worked tirelessly to care for the dogs, and they made sure that each animal received the love and attention that they deserved. Max and Lucy's story touched the hearts of people all over the town, and their legacy lived on for years to come. They had been abandoned by their owners, but their memory brought people together and inspired acts of kindness and compassion. In the end, Max and Lucy's story was a sad one, but it also showed the power of love and the importance of treating animals with kindness and respect. Their memory will continue to inspire people for generations to come, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a better future.